Welcome to episode 323 of Pub Theology Live, a weekly conversation on life and faith over a craft brewed pint, a fine wine, or whatever happens to be in your glass. On today's episode, the Reverends Shannon Weston, Ogun Holder, and yours truly, Brian Burkoff, will address and engage what's happening through a theological lens with a good brew in hand.
And that good brew in your hand might be in a Pub Theology Live pint glass. We still got a few left, and you can get one if you become a subscriber on Patreon, where you will also get some pre and post show banter in case you missed it last week. We finally resolved the age old issue of golf, sport or not. We solved it. We solved it for you. So check that out. And if for some reason you're one of the, I don't know, 8 people who miss us, streaming this on Facebook or watching it on Facebook, I'm also going to start this week, fingers crossed, uploading the videos on our YouTube channel. So yeah, you might watch them there if you're a person who just likes to watch people talk in the microphones. You can do that too. It's
That
all the
could have gone a
rage.
lot of places. So I think we should just stop there.
This is why you gotta wait. This is why you wait. This is why you gotta wait for it. So again, be, become a subscriber at patreon.com/ptlive. And as always, a big thank you to our current patrons.
Today we're going to discuss books, reading, and truth. One usually leads to another, which usually leads to another. So for that, what are we drinking, fellas?
Um, I have a Born Old Heineken.
Born old.
Born Old Heineken. I discovered a craft beer shop. I kid you not. Maybe a 15-minute walk from the house, and I
Nice.
was going to go rate it today because I'm a procrastinator, so I left it today, and then we moved our recording time earlier, so I didn't get to go. But it's Lisbon, so it's really 13 minutes downhill and like 23 back uphill.
Right, exactly.
So that's also the other reason. Admittedly, I didn't go today, but
Listen,
you know,
sometimes you need a born old Heineken. It's
sometimes
all
you need a
right.
Born Old Heineken. There we go. What do you
Brian,
got?
what do you have to watch Tiger football? Baseball, sorry.
Well, that's all right. I'm wearing a football hat with my Tiger jersey.
Right, exactly.
Not confusing at all.
Covering all my bases. So interesting story. Sunday, my teams played back-to-back, Lions at 4:30, Tigers at 8, and I was driving through a small town south of Holland, and I wanted to pick up some beers, and I passed a gas station with a huge all caps cold beer sign. So I'm like, great. I stop in. I see some beers behind the fridge. I go to open the fridge and it's stuck because they put a stick through it and it says absolutely no alcohol sales on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
What?
Do
What?
you can you sell alcohol in Michigan on Sunday?
Yes, this
Oh,
gas, even in that town and county, you can. This particular gas station is self-righteous and decided
well,
we don't like that.
we can't sell it on in Maryland on Sundays.
Right. So nevertheless, I persisted and found somewhere else selling beer. It's not fancy. It's Modelo.
There you go.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say it said cold beer and all they had was like Coors Light. Like I thought you were
yeah.
gonna go in that direction.
We hit in all the basic favorites.
But yeah.
Modelo, be a fighter.
Modelo, be a fan. Yeah, perfect,
Modelo Especial.
That's
perfect
Like that.
standby. I got a Heineken. All right, save us, Shannon. What you got?
Oh, I have nothing because I just finished
Oh,
a session and now I'm going straight in. So I have iced tea,
okay.
Louisiana iced tea, straight out of the pitcher.
There you go.
So we're kind of what's the
I'm
word? I
very
don't want
particular
to
about my iced tea. I do have to say, like,
go
I
ahead.
put more effort into my iced tea than I do most mixed drinks, but nonetheless.
So we're all keeping it pretty basic today. When I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Missouri is basically half of it is in Missouri, half of it is in Kansas, divided by a road originally called State Line Road. I kid you not. And in Kansas, you at the time I lived there, you couldn't sell alcohol on Sundays, but in Missouri you could. So
Mhm.
literally all the liquor stores on the Missouri side were open, and people were just like literally crossing the street from
Yeah,
Kansas to Missouri to buy alcohol and take it back home.
I
Stuff.
literally wanted to be like, I'm a pastor and I disagree with this theology, so I can buy a beer, right?
right. No, Maryland is a law. Kentucky, it's a law. You can't buy anything on Sundays. In
Really?
Maryland, you can buy packaged goods from a restaurant that is 51% food, right? So they can have a beer section, or a liquor section that you can buy from.
This is a
Um,
statewide
But wait,
law?
but wait,
yeah.
you can buy alcohol at restaurants to drink.
Yes.
Because I was
Now in
gonna say,
Kentucky, you can't before noon.
Jesus, that's so
Not
arbitrary
before
and
noon.
dumb.
I
Or at
mean,
least you couldn't. That may have been a county thing growing up. That
Oh
may
my
not have been a
God.
statewide thing.
right.
So basically, no drinking before church.
Correct. That's correct. And in New
Master's
York,
out
it
of
was the
luck.
same way. You couldn't, so in New York, you could buy beer in grocery stores and the
Yes.
liquor store was separate. Um, but you couldn't buy any liquor in New York on Sundays. You could buy beer after 12 afternoon.
Wow.
Liquor, I hardly know her. So basically, we want to make sure everyone comes to church sober
That's the idea, I
or
think.
hungover,
Yeah. Or you're not skipping church
right? To
for
go drink,
brunch.
To
to go
Yeah.
drink,
pregame.
For
to
pregame.
pregame. No hair of the dog
Yeah.
on Sunday
No, these
mornings.
laws are so weird to me. They're so weird.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They are weird.
Mm.
Well, here we are. What is a book you've read recently that you would definitely recommend to others?
Mm.
Fiction or nonfiction? Can
What?
I have
Let's
one of
do
both? One of
one
either?
each. One each.
One
Let's
each.
go. Let's go one each right now.
I have to
One
look up
each.
my
Let's we all check our phones.
I have to look at my app.
I
Seriously.
know.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Fiction. My fiction selection is a book called Orbital, and the basically it happens. The person who's writing is on the space station as it orbits the Earth, and with the space station, because of the rotation of the Earth and the orbit and all that, the it looks from the space station perspective that you are orbiting the Earth a few times a day. You get sunrise and sunset a couple of times a day. It really messes with your perception of time
Right.
and reality. And but I forget the author's name. I'll look it up. But she wrote so beautifully and so poetically about it. Nothing really happens. Spoiler alert, nothing really happens in the
Mhm.
novel, but just the story, and it's there's grief involved in it as well. And again, you're when you're going through this process of multiple sunsets and sunrises in any given day, and it messes with your perception of time and reality. How now do you understand your sense of mortality and your relationship with life? It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. It won a bunch of prizes. It's called Orbital. I want to say Samantha Harvey. Um, but yes, Samantha Harvey. I was right. So I've been telling people about that left, right, and center. And then another one, nonfiction this time, that we actually might talk about today, which I recently started reading, Separation of Church and Hate by John Fugelsang. That's another reader
It's on my
as well.
list.
There you go. Yes. Highly recommend.
Nice. While Shannon's looking to see what she's read, I
I
am
was trying to
almost
pick which one.
there you go. I'm almost done reading the book 2312, also a science fiction space sort of book by Kim Stanley Robinson. Uh, and it's set in the year of its title, 2312. And we're at the point where we've kind of effed up Earth and have had to terraform and make other planets in the solar system habitable. Um, and there's just some like people are even living on Mercury and as far out as like Jupiter and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Um, but the interesting sort of underlying premise is the AIs. People start implanting what they call cubes, QUBE, in either their arms or their brains, which augments their like little AI units. And then the battle is, are the AIs taking over? And it's just,
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to
Puff.
take in real life. I don't think it's going to take that long, but it's just a really interesting premise as we're in the midst of some of these questions as well.
Yeah. So the best fiction I've read recently was, well, which is usually my genre, like that I'll say is Happy Land by Dolan Perkin Valdez. She writes beautifully. It's just a really beautiful book. Um, and it's about reconnecting with her grandmother and the land that they live on, and um it's not historical fiction, but it is based in like there are areas of South Carolina and North Carolina that Black families have owned the land since emancipation, and this is kind of one of those stories where the family owned the land for a long time, and et cetera, et cetera. Um, but since you both went science fiction, I do not actually normally read science fiction at all, but a friend of mine recommended the book The Mountain in the Sea
Ooh,
by Ray Nadler, Nayler, Naylor, Ray Naylor. It was so good. And it's about a scientist who's studying communication in an octopi, an octopus.
yeah,
And there is some AI elements to it. There's a lot of creation. There's a lot of like stewardship of land stuff and
Mhm.
it's really, really good. Like I devoured it. And again, I don't usually read. It's just not usually for me. But there really was some scientist stuff in it that I was like, this is really interesting. And so it was science fiction, but it was less like, you know, anyway, it was a
yeah.
tolerable level for somebody
I
who
gotcha.
doesn't ingest it on a regular basis. Um,
Mm.
And actually, the nonfiction book that I'll name, like I'm actually in the middle of a few of them, but I reread, I'm working for work, I reread The Thin Book of Trust. And I
Mm,
have to say that if like, I just feel like Charles Feltman's the author, and I just feel like he does such a good job of it's a simple book. It's a small book. It's only like 150, 200 pages. But it's so clear and it's so easy to understand um, that it's simplicity at its best in
yeah,
what it takes to create trust, how to keep it, what trust is. There's one chapter on trust in teams. Like it just highly, highly, highly recommend for really anybody.
great.
It's it's like I said, it's easily digestible and it is so important. So
Love it.
that's my new plug for nonfiction right now.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm not a nonfiction historical reader, so you're not going to get that from me.
We'll go elsewhere for those references.
Yeah. I'm a nonfiction. Here's how to make your organization better. That's the nonfiction you want to come to me for.
All right, we have a quote here from Haywood Brown, which says, "The great threat to the young and pure in heart is not what they read, but what they don't read."
I look forward to the day where I am like on a train, bus, public transportation, and there's someone who is in their 30s or younger, face birding their phone, and it's not a video. They're words
Mm.
on the screen. I don't see that anymore. Like anytime I see
Don't they have the closed caption on, Ogun?
no, no, they don't. Not only don't they have the closed caption, but some of them are actually playing the audio out loud because we all
Oh,
need
that
to hear
drives
it.
me absolutely batty.
No,
No, no,
I'm
no.
just like,
Absolutely not.
no.
I'm just like, that is, I don't want to be ageist, but that's an old person move. Get yourself some earbuds.
Exactly. How you
Come
like
on,
why are young people doing this? Come on. We are not
Jesus,
reverting.
we're
No.
not, we're not reverting. But yes, but I don't see young people reading anymore. And yes, I'm exaggerating, of course, but I'm just saying, just going by what I see.
My
Just going by
kids
what I
don't
see.
read.
Yeah, it's generation, maybe some older millennials, definitely Generation X and up. We're the ones who are reading physical books on the bus, in the train, in the plane. We're the ones who have e-readers with the magnification turned up to like 3,000. Like, we're the ones reading. I don't see a lot of younger people, and I'm also seeing fewer and fewer people in their 40s and 50s reading as well, but and also reading long form
Yeah.
books, like, or attention attention somehow we were told attention is a new currency, and we have, I think that's given us shorter attention
And then we
spans.
spent it.
Yeah. And now we're spending it on a lot of dribble. Or if you can't get your point across in like a 30 seconds or less video, it's getting lost in the noise.
Yeah.
And we've become those people. And it's led to a lot of misinformation. And yes, it's led to a whole economy of influencers, whether they're trying to sell a product or even if they're like trying to educate us around like justice issues. We are forced in many ways to become these content creators that a either don't go in depth, or it's more to get the point across. We have to skip a lot of stuff,
Right.
and we got to make it digestible and appealable. Like, just another way social media has ruined us. But I'm sounding very get off my lawnish, but I feel sometimes
No, I
we
hear
need
you. When
to,
I'm traveling
you
and
know,
like I'm on the metro or the subway, you'll see occasionally someone with an e-reader, even less so, even less often someone with a physical book, but more often everybody's got their phone out. Have you seen the commercial where everybody's phone is an ice cream cone?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
that was cute, right? Like
Yeah, I did too.
imagine this random object instead of the phones, and then you kind of see how absurd it sort of feels. And of course,
Yeah.
it's a phone commercial, but
Right,
of
right,
course.
exactly.
I thought it was clever. So what about this threat about so sometimes people will say, "Oh, we shouldn't expose our kids to," right? There's a movement now.
Right. We should
Um,
ban all these
we
books
should ban these
because, yeah.
books, or what are our kids going to be exposed to, and here's why that's problematic, and blah
I
blah blah.
mean,
But this person is saying it's not what they read, it's what they don't read. That's
and
deep.
my like, so again, I think I think what it's also doing is we're losing cognitive skills. Like we're
Mm,
losing the ability to, so what I read in this is we learn just as well from what we agree with to what we don't agree with, right? So like I need to read, I need every once in a while to read a book that allows me to be surprised. Oh, I didn't think I would like that, but
right.
I did,
Yes.
right? Or
Or I
oh,
thought I
that,
knew this, but maybe I didn't
but
quite.
maybe I didn't. Or like with your, on one hand, like there was an AI element to mine as well, where like the AI did start to learn, right? And like learn emotion and things like that. And it was so lifelike, people got scared and he was then banished to this island, right? Kind of thing. Or they were banished to this island. They were very clear that there's no pronouns there. But anyway, the point in that is just that like I kind of sat there and thought, oh, that's like it took me to a thought experiment that I hadn't actually, it's not that I'd never thought AI taking over or things like that, but like what if actually it was a good thing and people were still scared of it, right?
Right.
Like or
Right.
whatever.
For sure.
Um but no, I think for me, so I think about let's go to education, right? I think about in seminary when we were exposed to multiple theologians and it was like they were actually arguing like this book disagreed, this theory disagreed with this theory, and what that does to your brain of thinking through, well, I may prefer this one over this one, why, like what does that speak to my experience, how does that work, like
You're having
those
to
kind of,
do the work to think
I have
through
to
the
do the work.
arguments.
Yeah. and and I'm not saying that like we, our job sometimes is to walk in front of people and say, here's all that we know. I'm going to kind of tell you how to streamline it, but I'm also going to ask you questions to make you think about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we do that as much anymore because somebody's always talking at us telling us what to think. Um
And we gravitate to those talking points that agree with what we already think.
Not even gravitate, like the algorithm literally tells us what to think, right?
Yeah.
Like
For
it,
sure. For sure. When you
I mean
come
when
talk about
I,
social media, yes, but I'm talking about church or choosing a church to attend or a news station to watch. We
yep.
tend to
Oh,
gravitate toward what we know we will agree with.
sure. I won't. I won't. I'm turn on NPR and I don't know that I trust anybody else's news. And that's absolutely true, you know, like,
This is why I still watch Real Time with Bill Maher, because
Mm,
I mean, let's be clear, half the time I don't agree with what he says,
right.
because he's very privileged, elitist
yeah.
white man. And at the same time, I'm not I'm not gonna watch Fox News or anything further right than Fox. And it's the one place where you will get, still, they're still being nice to each other and being politically correct, but you will get people across a political spectrum, across an ideological spectrum, and he will hold people to task. He will call bullshit
Hmm.
regardless of who's sitting across from him, if
Hmm.
bullshit needs to be called. Does he call bullshit on all the things that need to be called bullshit on? No,
Right.
not my perspective.
Famously
But
not.
famously not. Famously not. But when he does, he will. I am, so I will watch to this. This is the only avenue that I still feel comfortable getting out of my echo chamber,
Right.
Yeah.
because just as we accuse one side of just always watching Fox and Newsmax and OAN and being in that bubble, there's also a very progressive liberal bubble as well,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for
So
sure.
so not to be too hypocritical, but also not to, keep my nervous system in a state of, like, code red, because I
Right.
keep hearing the ridiculousness of their narratives, you know. But like I can't, and the idiocy of it all, like, Bad Bunny was announced as the
Right.
Super Bowl halftime show, and they're like, why can't we get an American? I'm like, what the fuck do you say to that?
Right. Exactly.
Oh,
read,
it's
read a
painful.
Well,
book, people. Read a book. You don't even need to read a whole book.
So
but
painful.
Ogun, you're also reminding me of like again, so I've never read her books, but I have heard like the Sue Grafton, like her
Yeah,
book, which are very, very, very popular
the
books,
alphabet crime
the
series.
alphabet crime stuff.
Ooh.
But the ability to read a book where you have empathy for a character or
Mm-hmm.
like a character who then turns and ends up doing things that you wouldn't expect
Yes,
or believing things you wouldn't like because you've built a character. Like it builds a level of like, oh, but I really liked them.
right.
Huh, what do I do with this
Yeah, it
complexity
creates that cognitive dissonance
Yeah,
that's healthy.
that's healthy
that's
that
healthy.
then I can apply to my regular world and go, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't be too harsh in judgment here. Like I don't really know what's going on and like so it's the best use of creativity in terms of like being able to go down this road and I'm not saying right like we all watch TV and shows like TV can do that too.
Yeah,
Social media isn't all bad, but there is something very special about a book where it's igniting a part of your brain where you're doing the visualization, you're hearing their voice, you're all of those things.
You're painting the scene.
Exactly. That is very unique to reading versus
yeah.
even someone telling you a story because now you're hearing it through them.
And reading slows you down. We
Yes.
are we are re, we are just moving at such a frenetic pace these days, which is again why a lot of our nervous systems are just fried,
Yeah.
because so much is coming at us. Setting aside, it's how I love to start my day. I will start my day with a cup of tea and a book, and if I could get in at, you know an hour of reading, 45 minutes, like, that's how I like to start my day. By the way, speaking of stories that cause us to think, you have to watch Nine Bodies in a Mexican Morgue. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's a series. I will say in advance, the writing goes downhill as the series goes on.
Okay.
But the premise of the who done it, and it's a plane crash, and
Is
there's,
this like
like,
a
I don't
mini
know,
series or?
it's a mini series. There's
Yeah,
like 10 people in a plane crash, and very diverse groups of people. We got very
cool.
progressive people. We got some MAGA
Yeah.
people who, of course, toting their rifle, which
Nice.
ends up saving
Ends
people
up
because,
being handy, I'm sure.
right, because they
Right?
get to shoot some animals and feed
Yep.
people, right? And
Exactly.
it turns out they're actually nice people, even if they have, like, redonkulous worldviews.
Right.
And then you got the progressive people who you're like, I agree with their worldviews, but it turns out they might not be nice people. Like
Yep.
it really makes you go like, huh, yes, we do tend to judge people like books by their cover, but they're also more than their cover. But also, the cover tells you a lot about them too.
Yeah.
So, to your point, the nuance, and we don't do nuance well. Books take us to nuance. Social
I
media is not nuance. Social
well,
media is,
and
yeah.
Ogun, you were saying like you like to start the day. Like I often like to end the day reading a chapter. Part of the reason why I like books with short chapters is because I like to
Mm-hmm.
read a chapter and I can't read very long. But
Yeah.
actually to this quote, I think a little bit of like I know that I'm kind of not okay when I can't read at night because I can't leave my world long enough to like get into another world.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
actually how I know like I'm kind of a little too stressed out right now because I can't get out of my own world. And so I actually do think not reading leads to that egotism in a way that is like it's healthy for me to escape my world for a little while. It
for sure.
So I don't know. There's different barometers and by the way, I'm also a audit like I know that I just what I said about hearing and feeling and thinking, but like I believe Audible books are reading. Like I'm sorry, I do.
Okay. You know what? That's a post-show discussion similar to golf. Like
I
Oh,
understand, but I
audiobooks are
have
not reading.
feelings. I have
Audiobooks are
feelings.
not reading. We'll talk about it post-show.
I
Audiobooks are
look
not
forward
reading.
to this. I will be the arbiter
All right.
because I'm not sure I have an opinion. So, okay. The bottom line is read.
There you go.
In Luke 19:33 to 34, it says, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. So, despite this text in the Torah, which obviously also in the Christian Bible in the Old Testament, and many other texts about welcoming the stranger, why do immigrants get such a bad rap?
So it comes down to fear, because also in Leviticus, also in the story of the Israelites in Egypt, why did Pharaoh turn against them after they were like at one point
They
part
were
of the they
helpful
were they were
slaves, part of the
they were
workforce.
they were part of the
Because they weren't
workforce.
American enough,
They were
Ogun.
they
They
were
weren't
part of the
Egyptian enough.
they were part of the community. But again, when you realize, oh wait, they will end up being more of them than us, whether that's true or not, it was a fear, and
It
let's
was
act on that fear.
He
Pharaoh's great
literally made up a
replacement theory.
he literally made up a
Exactly.
war. He literally
Yes.
said, if our neighbors attack us, they'll join in with our neighbor. There was no war. He
There was
made it
nothing.
up. It was a fictional thing in his head.
Wait, why
Yeah.
is this all sounding familiar?
I don't
Oh,
know.
I
I don't
preached
know.
on this a couple weeks ago and like they were like, and I was like, it's
Yeah.
literally in the Bible.
They were
It's
What are
like,
there.
you?
and you were like, mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
there. Mm.
I love it.
Can we make
Uh,
that a show title? Just mm.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
mhm. Mm.
But I think that's exactly it. The
So fear,
fear.
difference.
Yeah,
What are you
the
saying?
the the scarcity mindset, right? Of like
that
there's
too.
only so much. If you come here, so like this is why Brexit happened, right? We
Yeah,
only have so much.
and
If
racism.
well, yeah, right. Like, but this is what kind of leads to racism as well, of like if all these people come here, they're gonna take what is ours and there's not
Right,
gonna be enough for us.
right.
And so
Yeah,
yes, there's changing the landscape, there's blah blah blah, whatever, but like also this is the story of all of these lands.
I'm still waiting for the thousands of Americans that have been waiting for those farm jobs that the undocumented and
Right.
documented folks
To st
have been
to take
stealing.
yeah.
Right. I'm
Exactly.
still like, where are they? Farmers are praying because nobody's showing up to work. What happened to all the Americans that the quote unquote illegals were stealing their jobs from? Right.
There
So
was a Senate hearing not long ago, and there was a really good clip from it where they were talking about the jobs report and how it isn't just about the illegals that left that Americans aren't willing to take those jobs. It's that like those workers were paying into our systems,
Yeah.
right? Not just taxes, but like buying groceries, eating out, all of the regular like
Part of the
paying
economy.
rent, all of the
Yes.
like billions into our economy. Well, then when you literally sweep through and take away whole groups of people and neighborhoods, guess what happens to the businesses and the grocery stores and the whatever else in those neighborhoods? Like now
Yeah.
they're laying off people and now they're so like there's no if you want to talk about trickle down economics, like why don't you get it right here and like understand how this affects this. But
When
no, I
Stephen
think
Miller
it's
listens to the show later, he'll be like,
no, he
Hmm.
won't.
never thought of it
Hmm.
that way.
He'll be like, we need
So,
more high paying jobs for Americans. Like you
and
don't.
the and the
Right.
other reason
Right.
immigrants get a bad rap is because we need an enemy in order to consolidate power.
No, Ogun, it's because you talk funny.
Listen, I've been working on my Barbadian accent for decades, and I thought I had it mastered. Now I got to go find a Portuguese accent, and
Right, exactly.
I mean, you hear me talk in 10 years, it's going to be all kind of messed up.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be
Where's he
awesome.
from?
You know what's funny is I watched so many shows with like so many different accents that like I actually have like I can't tell when they're like, "Oh, you must be a whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, do they have a different accent than the other person?" Like I've become so immune to it at this point. And that's the
Mm.
dream, right? Is that you just kind of don't hear it. And
Yeah,
not because everybody's the same, but just like, "Oh, I know exactly where you're from," kind of deal. Like, no, you don't. Just because, I mean, you have an accent doesn't mean you haven't lived in the United States forever, never, 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 or
Right.
yeah.
whatever, or you weren't born and raised here. Your parents just happen to have an accent. So now you have an accent. Like one doesn't equal the other. Anyway, obviously I was kidding. You get the idea.
The when you look at how the vitriol towards undocumented folks here are is directed, again, it's using fear as the conduit for power, because we talk about how much love unites us, hate also unites us,
Right.
as
Fear
well.
and hate together.
fear
Well,
fear and hate, and it unites and intoxicates easier than love.
It
love
kind of
is
does.
love is friggin' hard.
It's hard.
but
Right.
go back to the Bad Bunny moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And like now there are too many people that don't understand that Puerto Rico is part of the United States and that they're US citizens, but like
Right.
put that aside. But like because he speaks Spanish and because his music is primarily in Spanish, they assume he's not a citizen of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
United
Yeah.
States. Like it's not that they were like, "Oh, Puerto Rico isn't." Now again, a large group of those people probably wouldn't have gotten there on their own,
Right.
but it's that Spanish equals not American,
That's
right?
right. That's
Yes.
right.
And like that, and that's the part that for me with texts like these, like we want the Bible to be clear at times. The Bible could not, like scripture could not be clearer about immigrants, refugees, and strangers. I mean,
Correct.
it could not be clearer.
It
And
couldn't be.
it like I just it's so hard for me that I'm like some things are cut and dry in scripture, and this is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I love is, the way it's framed is that what this is like.
Exactly.
You
You
have
know
been
what
there.
it's
Like use empathy. Like these are fellow human beings just like you are. Maybe you're not in the same place in life or status or whatever,
yeah.
but either you were or your parents or their parent. Like this is a
Like how
kind of
many
human experience. So
I
act
mean,
like
how many white people like this is okay, here's the deal, right? Like when Derek and I did our ancestry stuff, I knew exactly what mine was going to say,
it. Yeah,
and I knew how many generations back it was going to go. I know my family's immigration story. Like obviously he doesn't. I mean, we know the story, but we don't know how many generations ago, we don't know where, we don't know what the
right.
circumstances were. We still don't know a lot of that. But his is like 9+ generations is how long his family has lived in the United States. Mine is 2 and 3, and I knew that. So like, don't give me some bullshit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And a random person might say he's the stranger, you're the whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I knew I mean, I didn't know, but I knew we were going to be English, British Isles, France, Germany. Like I knew that kind of
You are such a foreigner, Shannon. I mean,
exactly.
I'm just learning this.
But comparatively,
Did
I
the red
am.
hair did the red hair not give her away? Come on.
Well, no, I'm not gonna make that joke on here. I'll tell you that after. Because it's funny, but it's not nobody that doesn't know my family funny. But anyway, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, and yes, we can talk about Irish immigrants all day long and why my family ended up in North Dakota and not, New York and on the eastern
Sure.
seaboard. We can talk about that, but also like my family did immigrate willingly, especially willingly as in they were starving in their country. Same like you were foreigners in Egypt because you were starving for your country and you went to a place that had food.
Yep.
That is
Right.
the story of my family as well. So let's not sit here and when you evoke this, tell me that there are not people with this story and
Yeah.
that we are so far removed from this idea. Um,
Yeah. It's not also an invitation for compassion. It's a warning. Don't become your oppressor.
that's exactly right.
Exactly, Ogun.
And this was we see Israel doing this,
Yep.
and now this is what's happening here in the US as well. I mean, for a country that was supposedly founded or less stolen,
Right.
by people as the folklore goes, seeking to escape persecution and seeking to escape the tyranny of monarchy rule. Like, we're kind of doing a shit job
We're kind of
Yeah.
of
gone full circle here. Awkward.
of
Yeah.
of like not becoming the thing. Like the whole Constitution was created to not have that happen, and here we are having it happen
Right.
in real time.
I mean,
And
I've already got my order in for Trump coins. I don't know about you guys.
oh my god. As
I
somebody pointed
actually
out,
like
wait a minute,
there's actually
his face is
50%
on.
of me that's like
Yeah,
he's not lying because,
there was the run. The joke is that like his face is on both sides of the coin. Which is heads, or are they both asses?
Hey, sorry, I diverted you from your point. But you were saying, so from our founding to where we are now, like, can we not
Yeah.
see we're becoming the thing we were founded to not
only
be?
only some of us see it. And we're not the
Clearly.
ones in power,
Correct.
right? We're the
Correct.
ones who don't see it, or the ones who see it and are willfully going like, doesn't matter. This is the administration that's staging raids in Chicago apartment buildings and zip tying children. Like this is who they are now. And uh I don't think enough people are concerned about this. Enough people
Correct.
are worried
Correct.
about this. But I think we go through phases. So like I think honestly, there are people who voted for Trump who legitimately did not imagine we would be here, and they're embarrassed, and
oh
no,
yeah,
they're not saying anything.
right.
My best hope is like they stay home on election day. I don't expect them to come full circle and vote Democrat
My
or
best hope
vote
is we
someone
have an
else.
election day.
I
Um,
was about to say like we used to say that as a joke. I am not saying that as a joke
No,
anymore.
that's a full,
no,
Yeah.
no, I
that's on the
I
table.
I agree with you.
I
It's
mean,
it's not safe to assume anymore. But if we
somebody
have
said the other
one,
day, like, guys, we're at 9 months. And like
Oh,
you can
yeah.
feel that in your body
correct.
that you're like, oh my God, it
Correct.
hasn't even been nine
Well,
months.
Yes.
also it's been 10 years because it wasn't like he went away quietly in the 4 years Biden was in office,
Exactly.
right? So we've had
No,
to
but
we've.
we've got 3 years and 3 months
Oh no, I
left
know, I
without,
know. I know what, and I'm just saying that's part of the weight of, yes, so much has happened in the past 9 months. So much has happened, but part of the reason it also feels so heavy is because we've been hearing him gabbing in this political sphere
well,
for
and
10
the
years.
reality of his
That's
Supreme
ridiculous.
Court was all through Biden's administration, right?
That's right.
Like that,
Exactly.
that was also the
Exactly.
reality then too.
Exactly.
So Ogun mentioned stuff happening in Chicago and elsewhere. So that's a good transition to our next topic, which is a quote from the diary of Anne Frank, January 13, 1943, famously young girl writing under the invasion of the Nazis. She writes, "Terrible things are happening outside. Poor, helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find that their parents have disappeared." Like these are the things that people our age we were taught in school growing up, and it's like, oh, it was so horrific. And can you imagine living in a society so off the rails? We don't have to imagine so much anymore. I mean, like, why you said, Ogun, people are not paying attention or being upset about what or stepping in with what's really happening. Like, why is that?
I think people are upset. They literally don't know what to do about it.
That's a fair point.
Like, I do think people are upset. I do. No, don't get me wrong. I think there's a very small group of people that think zip tying children is okay. Like, I do,
Yeah.
like, but I think that percentage is real small. And
Yeah.
like, whether it's embarrassment or whatever for people not to say it, yes, we were putting children in cages and everybody's like, oh, that's fine. We're fine with that. Like, none of this is okay. I just, but
It
I
might be
don't
a
know.
small, it might be a small percentage, but I don't think it's a small enough percentage one. Um,
Sure. I think
to
I think
uh,
0.001 is too big of a percentage, but whatever. Like,
exactly, exactly. And the somebody posted on social media somewhere, which like really hit me related to this. Somewhere right now, a Mexican girl is in an attic hiding, writing in her
Yeah,
diary.
I saw
Like
that too.
that hit me. Third of all, when the whole like people don't know what to do, I'm having less and less patience for that. Because a couple of things. One, from a political standpoint, like the only political recourse we have is courts and elections. And elections, you got to know when your local elections are happening. Midterms aren't happening for another year plus, another presidential election for another 3 years. So I think if people are just relying on elections, yes, they're in this paralysis mode of waiting till
Right.
elections come up. But that's not the only thing we can do. And I share this with you guys in I think it's a pre-show, yeah. I think it's in Rochester, New York. ICE waiting,
Right.
ICE waiting for two workmen who are working on a roof to come down so that they can arrest them.
Hmm.
And they didn't come down. And a local pastor heard about this and called the neighborhood together, and dozens of people showed up to stand between ICE and these workers. And ICE eventually rolled away. And you see story after story after story of when the people show up, more
Yep.
often than not, ICE backs down because they know that the law really is not on their side, just to kidnap people,
Hmm.
right? Or if they ask someone to prove they are here legally, to give them the opportunity to show them. They're not asking, and they're not giving the opportunity, which
Right.
means that they need a warrant, and they don't have those. So
Right.
they know the law's on their side. So when there's a crowd, they're backing down. So it's not that people can't do anything. The question is, are the people willing to do what is needed of them at times like this? And not everyone is. And I'm not faulting everyone for not doing it. But to say, there's nothing I can do, I don't know what to do, it's hopeless, isn't entirely accurate. And
Yeah.
I'm losing patience with people who keep saying, I don't know what I can do now. There's a
Let's
shit ton of things you can do.
Yeah, and let's say there's a scale of 1 to 10, one being not at all fascist, and 10 being you are now replicating Nazi Germany. Like, where are we on that scale of 1 to 10? Does it, where would you each of you put us on that scale?
I mean, it feels like 12, but we're not, we're not actually there yet. I don't
Not
think we're
quite
at
there,
10
there,
yet.
but
Well, I mean, honestly, anecdote. And here's the difference, right? How does it feel anecdotally versus
Mm,
what's the reality on the streets, right? Because I can talk to plenty of people I know in DC neighborhoods who are like, yeah, this whole time I've never seen a National Guard person in my neighborhood. I've never seen an ICE person in my neighborhood. And then you could talk to someone else who's saying, yeah, ICE is rolling through here every other day.
right.
So, it's no different than, the president saying like I'm sending troops to was it Portland or something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then talking to the mayor of Portland, going, wait, am I seeing different things on TV than what's actually happening? Yes, you moron, you are.
Right.
Right. So how it feels and what it actually is anecdotally versus the reality of it are kind of two different things. So when we talk about, yes, if there's an election, and yes, there's we know there's people actively trying to figure out ways to subvert our election process, right? Like the running theory is Trump's doing all of this as an excuse to call martial law and suspend elections and stay in power. Like, I 100% believe that as well. Now, but we still have effective ways, like I said, of standing up to ICE, of using the judicial system. He keeps losing in court as well,
Right.
as well. So it's
Yeah.
not, we see the sensationalist, horrible headlines of the things the administration is doing, which we should,
Yeah.
but that's not all that's happening.
Well, it's interesting because so Brian, I don't know where we are on that scale. I also, I mean, I think it's a fair comparison. I also think it's not as clean as that, right? Like
No
it's
doubt.
not
Yeah.
as
It's a great point.
it like
There's too
like there
many.
was a regime change in a way that like now there's a certain troop of people. Like I don't look at somebody in the National Guard and say you signed up for this, right? Now I
Right.
can start to look at ICE work, like I can start to see that, but like I'm still seeing, right? Like I don't let me put it this way, right? The police are the same amount of threat that they were 2 years ago or 6 years ago or 8 years ago. Like I'm not seeing them as a
Yeah.
player in the regime. So like I don't know is the answer. I also see them as people who have helped put this into power and
But
whatever.
we're trending in a way that doesn't feel good,
Right. So we're
to put
definitely
it
on a
mildly.
scale, but we're still in the 30s, right? We're still in
Sure.
like and his like we're going to take over Canada and we're going to like that shit's not going to fly. There's no I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. So I
Yeah, the
don't
world is different than it was then.
yeah. What I do think is, I mean, one, it actually does break my heart that families are making contingency plans. What happens if our kids come home and we're not here,
Right.
right? Families have that plan in place. Now some would argue all families should have that plan in place, but like, like some families are like, no, 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 this is imminent. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Um, at the same time, I'm really I'm actually seeing, and I was thinking about this the other day, that what I would actually really like to see is my parents really stepping up
Mm.
at this point. It's not that I'm afraid, it's that if we are going down this road, like there are serious consequences coming for someone like me, someone like you, like someone who is standing up in the pulpit, someone who is standing up at protests. Like there are serious consequences coming. I would like to see my parents and their generation, people who are in their 70s, 80s, really stepping into that place
Yeah.
because the threat isn't as great to them. Like, I'll
Yeah,
be
and
honest
we've
about
seen
it, right?
maybe you've seen the photo of the pastor in in Chicago, sorry, who was pepper sprayed, and he was there as a peaceful resistance, like prayerful posture, etc. It gets pepper sprayed in the face. Like,
Right.
what the F?
But I'm not saying I want my 70 whatever year old dad to be pepper sprayed. I'm saying that like the look is different, right? Than a bunch of college kids
For sure.
who we're assuming weren't doing their blah 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 anyway, than 70, 80 year olds who are peacefully protesting with their candlelight vigil and their whatever, and who are not, right, like students are losing their places because they went to a pro-Palestinian protest. They get put on a list and they run a light or something and now they're deported. Like there's just less consequence. And no, it shouldn't be easy. And yes, we should all stand up in the face of tyranny. And I'm just saying, like, I see that age group being extremely terrified right now. And so I'm actually calling for, like, you have an opportunity that I'm who's going to have to live with whatever ramifications for longer than you are. Like, I need you to step into that spot for a little while.
I'm speaking at a retirement community end of this month, giving an afternoon sermon or whatever.
Yeah. And
Should
yeah,
this be should
I
this
gave
be
those.
should this be my like takeaway for them?
I mean, my experience is that, I mean, they are terrified. Like you have to understand, like my dad was born in 1949, right? Like he was born at the end of this, or like at the very end of Germany. The idea that he's gonna die and we're on the uptick of it is absolutely paralyzingly terrifying to him.
Sure.
And he was a lifelong Republican. He's not a Trump supporter, he's not MAGA, but like he was a lifelong Republican. And so like this is like we're losing the generate like that baby boomer generation. Like you're the ones that can actually say, here's what this did to my parents. I don't think that you understand where we're going, right? Like
Yeah.
we can, you and I and all three of us can sit there and say, but like we didn't live that history the way they did.
Right. And my dad also born in 49 and born in the Netherlands, where his parents, my grandparents, actively worked in the resistance, hiding Jewish people in the Netherlands. And then my parents somehow, immigrants themselves can vote for Trump twice
Right.
or three times.
Yeah.
That's why we need to read more books.
That's why we need to read. Know your history, lest you are doomed to
and
repeat.
and know the stories, not just the facts.
Yeah.
Facts don't move you. Stories do. That's why I always say to people, for me, there's always more truth in fiction than
But
nonfiction.
when
Yeah.
you know the stories like firsthand and you still like what?
I
I
know.
just
because
my
because
bandwidth for
Because they
compassion for
will
that is
always be other. They will
it,
always be other.
exactly, there will always be
I
other.
mean,
And if you can package your authoritarianism in a way that doesn't make you look like the worst authoritarianisms in the world,
fair.
yep.
you'll convince some people.
Yeah.
The problem with this quote, and I'm not saying it's a problem, right? But poor, helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. They don't see them as poor, helpless people.
They don't see them as people, poor or
Right.
helpless.
The
Both are correct.
dehumanization is there, but they also say, you're not helpless, you did wrong, you blah, 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 right? Like
Right.
they
Right.
do, they would not, they would say this is an out of context, unfair quote.
Right. All right, we're nearing the end here, but new book out, perhaps you've heard of it, by John Fugelsang, Separation of Church and Hate. He says, I generally trust people who are seeking the truth, whereas I tend to be wary of those who claim they've found it. Ogun, give us you're doing a book study on this book. Why don't you give us a
Actually,
plug on
yes.
that?
My cohort, Reverend Kelly Isla, and I, on our platform Project Sanctus, we're actually going to be doing like a book discussion of this next month. So if you are listening and interested in reading and joining us for that, head over to projectsanctus.com. We like just decided this, I kid you not, this morning. So like saw your question in the script. I was like, oh my God, one mind. So the sign up page might not even be there yet because we just came to that
So
decision
check
this
back,
morning. But
projectsanctus.com.
yes, but read the book. And he is he's also a comedian, I think,
Yeah.
but the book is really, using scripture as the pushback against Christian nationalism, right? So these so-called Christians involved in Christian nationalism say they're Christians and they're, but the God, as we've talked many times on the show, including today, the actual gospel speaks differently to the Christian nationalism agenda. So this is kind of what this book is about. And to his point, um, this kind of goes to the thing often say, which is the opposite of faith isn't doubt, it's certainty. Because faith means I am believing in something I either don't know for sure, I can't articulate for sure. There's a kind of element of hope, of inspiration. Faith is pulling me somewhere. Certainty says I know it and I'm not moving from my spot. And that's the most dangerous thing a person can embody, because facts change. We were certain at one point in time the earth was flat. Some fools still believe that, right? We were certain that the sun rotated around the earth. We were certain of so many things that turned out to not be true, right? So everything is evolving. Everything's evolving. So to be stuck in a thing that says you're certain and this is the last word about anything, yeah, can't be trusted.
So you agree with his assessment?
I agree very much with his
Yeah.
assessment. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Paul Tillich, and that's the premise, that's the thesis of his book, Faith and Doubt, is that doubt is necessary for faith. Certainty is what's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then Anne Lamott puts it the way that Ogun puts it famously, but like it's it's one of those ideas that has been around forever, that we've got to stop pretending that we like, I mean, actually, I don't know that theologians, include Tillich included, I don't know, I'd need to think about that more, would go so far to say that like Christianity is one of the only world religions that believe that they only hold the truth. Like that we are
Yeah.
the only ones of the truth holders. I don't know that I would really need to go down that road with him,
Sure.
um but I think that this idea, again, this actually goes back to kind of that book conversation and like how we think about things. Like we've lost the ability to, we're losing, and we've definitely lost it in religion, of losing the ability to go, I wonder if that's what I believe, right?
Mm.
Like to take that scriptural quote of, you know, when a foreigner resides in your own land, do not mistreat them. Well, what might that mean for us? What does that look like in practice? Why would that scripture from thousands of years ago still be important for us today? Does it apply to our current situation? If so, how? Like all of that conversation, like that's why Bible study is so important. And again, that's kind of going away, right? Like we've lost a little bit of this art and this ability. So for what he's claiming, for a preference for people who said, I know the truth, listen to me.
Yeah, it's
Like,
much easier to land in a dangerous place when you are convinced in your certainty and that you are right, and that by definition, then others are wrong. And that's
yeah,
when you find the permission to do terrible things in the name of religion, what have you,
and
because you're so
we, and
sure.
we and we live at a time where, to go back to something we said earlier, we can build the echo chamber that verifies the truth that we want to believe in.
That's right.
So if we don't, you know, what are the people who stopped watching Fox News because it wasn't far right enough, right? Or the people who stopped watching CNN because it's not like far left enough. Like
yeah,
we need, like we don't want to be really, we don't want our beliefs to be challenged anymore,
Right.
and we will find the voices that will not challenge us.
yeah,
And we've become lazy in that way, or we've become afraid. Actually, I think it's more of a fear thing, because if allowing our opening up ourselves to have our core belief challenged is a very, very scary proposition, right? That's like kicking the dominoes over and like the whole house falls over, and
right.
and that's frightening. We want if there's anything we have left in this crazy world is our beliefs, and if those go, what do we have left? Who are we without our beliefs? So so to challenge, have them be challenged is scary. And we forget to mention that we can have our beliefs challenged without the whole house imploding on itself. We don't have to challenge all of them all at once. And we can do it in safe, supportive spaces as well. We don't have to be on our own in this, but you know, we've become a TikTok generation where we're watching videos of any and everyone saying their truth and their certainty, and the ones that we don't agree with, we just flick away. We just flick away. Oh, I like this. I'm going with this. Oh no, flick that away. This is who we've become. The choose your own adventure, but that adventure is only the thing that I already know how it's going to end for me, and that's where we are.
I'll never Peter Rollins, I think he's an Irish.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, because again, Ireland has the division is so pronounced. He used to run this church, or maybe still does. I don't know. This was a story he told on a stage of a conference I was at 15 plus years ago. And he was talking about one of the things they do at their church is they'll put up a quote and they won't necessarily like it'll hold who the quote is. So you're deciding whether or not you agree with the quote before you know who said it. And
Love that.
sometimes it's somebody that you agree with, but if you had seen the name, you would definitely have not agreed with the quote, right?
Love that.
And it's such a great example of what this is, which is, hey, we're all susceptible to this.
Is
Like
that what we did wrong after Charlie Kirk was shot? We put up the quotes with his name.
with his name on it,
we,
right?
should, we
Like,
should have just put up the quotes.
right. Do
You're
you
right.
agree with this or not?
You're
Yes.
right.
You know, but it was challenging that it was like sometimes people would be like, "Oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever read," and then
Yeah.
it was somebody horrific, and you were like, "Oh
Yes.
my God," and but you're like,
Hitler from his art days.
right, or whatever, right? Like it's just one of those things that it's like, so first off, horrible people can say beautiful things, like,
Yes.
right? Of course they can.
And
They're
beautiful people can say horrible
it can
things.
say horrible things, but like, but I think it's just an example of how we all like you're saying, we get in these biases. And so what does it mean to seek truth? Like, I mean, I'm gonna go to Pilate here, Pontius Pilate, like what is truth? Right? Like the ever philosopher moment of
Yeah.
scripture where he's literally washing his hands of Jesus' blood, going, what is truth? Trying to make himself feel better.
Yeah.
I don't
Nothing
know.
means anything.
Exactly. Like what it time is I was once working with a client on her like ability, like her calendar and her time, and she's like, time is just a construct. And I was like, you do not get to like cop
No,
out on this one here,
no.
babe. Like we live in a world with time. Buckle up, kind of deal.
Exactly. Try to
So
keep up.
yeah, like, but what does it mean for each of us to hold our beliefs that are dear to us, that we have tried and tested, and like go back to the Leviticus. Like, I think that is a core belief that I hold.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to continue to seek truth out of that,
Yeah.
space? And that's hard for all of us. It's I don't want it's easy to take a theory like this or a book like this, and I guarantee he doesn't do this, but because I think he's more thoughtful than that. But to say, we're the church and those are the haters, and like, and yet, let's call something what it is when we see it,
Yes.
you know. Anyway. So, with that, friends, thank you to tuning into Pub Theology Live. You can show your love for the show by becoming a supporter on Patreon, get access to pre and post show banter and more. Visit patreon.com/PTLive to get started. And a big thank you to our current patrons. Our top cities tuning in this week are Dallas, Texas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and London, England. Again,
Yeah.
Christy just left her phone. It just keeps playing in the
Exactly.
airport. That's what's happening. Top cities tuning in this week. Oh, nope, just did that part. And if you'd like to start a pub theology gathering in your town, find support and resources at pubtheology.com. So until next time, friends, drink responsibly and keep those conversations flowing.